Yo, where is Mitch? Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio.
Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. But that's okay, cause I don't like y'all anyway. And I don't like y'all anyway.
1,000-mile journey begins with one step. Progressives took that step on November 6th. The journey's not over, but we took a step in the right direction.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Did you see New York 11 elected a Democrat? New York 11 is Staten Island, the most Trumpian place in New York City. Elected a Democrat. Don't try to tell me it wasn't a wave. Robert Mueller isn't the only person investigating Trump now. We have the House Intel Committee is now chaired by Adam Schiff, and they have subpoena power. And he will use it. And he will get to the bottom of this, like he's been trying to do for the last 2 years, and Devin Nunes has been stymieing him. Devin Nunes is no longer the chairman. The midnight runs to the White House are over. I made a promise to the listeners of East Coast Radio that if the Democrats did not mess up November, that if November 6th went our way, that we would have a little fun here on East Coast Radio. And if you stay tuned, I promise you this. Along with our fighting fascism and trying to save democracy, we will have a little fun. Because we earned it. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio.
Representing Staten Island.
Remember, we got Dyze in your house at the end of the week. We got the J Parks podcast at the beginning of the week. Every week, East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Get us on Patreon, patreon.com/JParks, and follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Let's punch fascism in the face, one podcast at a time.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived. Representing Staten Island.
Staten Island wasn't no joke.
Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is Friday, and we are back here on East Coast Radio with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house, exclusively on East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. It's where we fight fascism one podcast at a time. We use the only tool we have. We use our voices, and if you watched last week, or if you listened last week, you will know that my voice was not 100%, but I still needed to come at you. We have a couple of things going on today. We're going to preview what we're talking about on Sunday. And that's going to be a lot of Michael Cohen, Trump Tower Moscow, Mueller, Rudy Giuliani basically saying that, they colluded. There's a lot of policy stuff happening. There's a lot of Russia stuff happening. And again, I hope you've been following it. Because on the J Parks podcast, we delve deep. But what we do here on Dyze in Your House is we usually take a topic or two and we take that out of the J Parks podcast so I can remove some time. And I give you a little preview of what's to come in the future. Wherever we're fighting fascism, I'm here to tell you about it. So we were going for so long that we needed to have our own podcast channel. Because this is what happens when you become liberal. And are you ready? Are you ready? When you become liberal, everybody that's ever supported you leaves. All of your friends stop calling. All of the cool rock and roll jobs you had stop happening. Everything stops. You no longer are the person you are when you decide, you know what? I don't think I can let fascism happen. You're not. You have no friends. That's what happens. So I spend all my time talking to you guys. And I hope that we can, just reach out to me on Twitter, @JPorks, if you want to get it on the podcast. There's a lot of stuff happening. And maybe I could use some assistance if you want to point me in a direction. If there's something under a rug, you need to check that out. I will. Just come hit me, @JPorks on Twitter. I'm guessing that's probably the best place to find me as of right now. Okay. So, big week this week. I don't care, and you shouldn't care, but we definitely don't care about dictators having a summit. We don't care about Trump and Kim meeting. We don't care about it. Because remember when they met the first time and everyone chanted Nobel Peace Prize? Yeah, what happened was that North Korea did absolutely nothing in terms of stopping producing nuclear weapons. They actually may have done the opposite. They may have just started producing more. Now, they didn't have any tests. They didn't blow off they didn't test any live streamed on the internet or anything. Don't worry. But just because you're paranoid don't mean they're not after you. And just because they're not testing bombs doesn't mean they're not ready for bombs. It only takes one. So don't sit here and tell me that distraction is going to keep me from talking about the truth. And the truth is that there was a lot of conspiracy going on with the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Those are facts. And on Sunday into Monday, we're going to talk about more of it. Again, as we always do. We'll get to the thread count. But something to watch for this weekend. I know we've been saying this, but Don Jr. and Ivanka Trump need to get their affairs in order. Because word on the street is that when this... See, the reason why, and I real quick, I really want to save this for the J Parks podcast. But Dyze in your house, exclusively for East Coast Radio. See, people wonder why, like, Don Jr. and, like, Ivanka weren't called as witnesses to the Mueller probe. Like, what did they say? Why didn't they talk to Mueller? Because they're targets. Because they are going to go to prison. And that's just the way it is. And we're gonna, we'll talk more about it over the weekend on the J Parks podcast. You gotta stick it, gotta stay tuned. But, I mean, if it is what you say it is, I love it. And we'll get on to that. Actually, I have something a little more pressing I want to talk to you today on a brand new episode of Dyze in Your House. I told you we'd start having fun, right? Well, a lot of people think that my pain is fun. A lot of people think that. So let's talk about my employment situation here, because all I hear about is the economy and jobs and job growth and wages. Minimum wage in New York City now is up to $15 an hour. That's crazy. Go back in time to 15-year-old Jay Parks making $5.15 an hour at Pizza Hut, and you tell him, Jay, in 2019, minimum wage, the least you can make is going to be $15 an hour. Not only that, but you're going to make that and still be poor. I would have never believed you. I would have thought you were nuts, and I would have given up on school at that point if I would have known I was going to be able to have a job where I make double digits an hour. When I was a kid, that wasn't when it was $5.15 an hour. And I understand that, okay, so if I'm 32, and when I was 15, it was $5.15. Okay, so you're sitting there saying, look, it went up $10 in the last 10 years. Yeah, but I mean, cost of living has gone up way more than that in the last, 30 years, and wages remained stagnant all that time. But I'm not really talking about actual wages today. So, right now, for money, I help my cousin. He has a route where he delivers snack foods, let's call it. Not going to say the name of the company or which cousin it is. So basically, it's, he gives me a couple of bucks to help put stuff on the shelves. Cool. better than nothing. My unemployment ran out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know what I was going to do. But the mall by me, they just like, the mall on Staten Island, they just added a bunch of new stores. They added like a new parking lot. They added a new wing. Well, not a wing, but like more room. More stores. Cool. I went online and I signed up to all the apps. Indeed, Glassdoor. I even signed up on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn now. If you see me lurking on there, I don't know if we should be friends or not. I don't know how that really works. I just know that I don't want to keep uploading my terrible looking resume in Google Docs to these job sites. So I downloaded LinkedIn. I signed up for LinkedIn. Got my resume on Indeed. Hitting all these jobs. Applying for I'm talking jobs I don't even want I was applying for. You know, I started close, but listen, here's the thing. Especially with the way the economy is. Like, all you people, all the conservatives talk about the economy and job growth. So I figured there's no way that getting a job, a real job, is going to be a problem. I mean, I like making cash for my cousin, but at the same time, I would like a real job, so I can have a real schedule and, you know, get taxes taken out so I can contribute to society and stuff like that. It's crazy that I have not been getting called from any of these places. Primark actually emailed me back and told me that they would not be moving forward with my application. What place of employment does that? Who writes back? Who emails me back, personal email, and says, yeah, not a fan? You know, that's just crazy to me. So it's weird. So I'm wondering why I'm having so much trouble. So I mentioned it to my dad. My dad says, you know what jobs don't like? They don't like going on your social media and seeing all that political stuff. Oh. They don't? I didn't think they did. I don't have my last name, like my actual last name, on any of my social media. Any Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, none of that. But if you Google my name, what comes up is Least Coast Radio and a bunch of episodes of this podcast and the J Porks podcast. So, what you're telling me... Now, I don't know. Listen, it's January. Maybe I filled out these applications and they're not getting to them yet. I know Primark got to theirs, but like, there's a new AMC movie theater. How can they not call me? I applied for the host at Applebee's. I just don't want to bring the plates. I just don't want to bring the food. If you would have asked me a month ago, I would have told you I'm never working in a restaurant. I'll take the restaurant. I'm just not serving food. All these places, they want you to bring the tray and hold all the plates. 9 plates at once. Why would I do... Now, risk management here. Why would I take 9 plates to a table at once when I could take 1 at a time, and or 2 at a time, and if I drop it, I don't ruin the whole family's dinner? That's a thing that's been bugging me for years. I've always been a waiter, and when I've been a waiter, I've always bought 1, 2 plates at a time. Never had a problem. I never worked in a fucking catering hall, but I've never had a problem. I've taken tables of 20 people by myself. Ran those plates out 2 at a time. You think I care? You think I'm interested in dropping plates? I'm not. But I don't want to be a waiter. The last 3 years I worked in Catholic school. Right? I was a para. I helped forward the education of the youth of America. In a Catholic school. I had to pass a background check for that. So, if you're looking at me, who would have thought, that drug testing would not be the thing that's holding me back from getting a job? Well, That sentence is probably holding me back from getting a job. Hello to all future employers that somehow are listening to my podcast. See, I don't think that anyone's actually listening to the podcast in terms of employers. But I was stupid enough to put my first and last name on here. And they might see the titles and they're just not going to like it. Possibly. But my question is this. I know that there might be some Trump-supporting voting people who don't like that, but I applied for, like, corporations and stuff. Places that aren't mom-and-pop shops. And also, let me just ask you one question. If you were watching the country burn, and you were watching fascism and authoritarianism rise everywhere you go, just the rise of fascism and hatred and white nationalist supremacy. If you saw all that stuff happening and rising in your land, wouldn't it be extremely irresponsible of you to be silent? That's all I want to know. Because I'm thinking that, yeah, you might not like that, I'm liberal, but I'm not like, liberal because I'm not liberal for the sake of being liberal. I'm liberal because, have you seen the other guys? What is going on? The government is still shut down. It's insane to me. And I know that that's a sentence I say every week on the podcast. It's insane to me, but it is. Here's what I got on my resume. I have no gaps in employment since 2002. I don't care what jobs you had. If you do not have a gap in employment since 2002, that's pretty good. The retail jobs I'm applying for, filled out for like H&M, Box Lunch, Spencer Gifts, Hot Topic. These places, first of all, these places aren't calling me. Why? I've always had a job. Retail work is showing up. That's the whole thing. I applied for shift manager positions, assistant manager positions, just in case they didn't want to see this old guy applying for the cashier job and think that I'm lazy. I applied for all of the jobs. Starbucks. Now again, let's chalk it up to being January. It's January. Christmas just ended. Seasonal people got laid off probably. And we're just gonna hope that that's the case, because if jobs aren't hiring me because I'm liberal, then all those credit cards that are sending me bills, all those banks that I owe the loans to for college. You guys, I got some bad news to share with you. If being liberal is gonna keep me unemployed, have some bad news. You know who got back to me? Greenpeace got back to me. But it's another one of those street canvassing jobs like Amnesty International, which I did last year. Which, by the way, I like those companies. I just, I can't get 3 people a week to sign up to give money in order to keep my job. So it's not a job I could do. I have too much anxiety for that. I need like a schedule. That's just how I get down. I need like a schedule and stuff. But anyhow. So I ask you this, friends of the podcast, I ask you this. I live in New York City. If you know anybody who lives in New York City, or if you live in New York City, any one of the 5 boroughs, and you're thinking to yourself, I know somebody that might hire this kid, please, forward that information to me. I don't need people to call anyone for me. All I need is an interview. If I interview, I will win. I kill it on interviews. I'm funny, I'm personable, I'm quick. You hear me on the podcast. You hear my witty isms, You hear stuff I say. I'm pretty funny. I'm quick. I'm I'm a ball of sunshine when I want to pretend. So, like, if I get in that door, game over. But I'm afraid that I don't want to prove my dad right here. Like, why would I watch America burn? Like, don't you love your country? Don't you love America? How can you watch what's happening in America and be okay with that? How can you watch your country burn? I'm sorry if I'm not one of those people. I'm sorry that if I want to try to be a patriot in my old age. I'm sorry if I understand I don't have many years left on this earth and I want to live those years as a patriot. I'm sorry. My bad. I was over here caring about democracy. Oh, because I care about democracy, I'm not going to get a job? But what about the economy? I thought my resume should speak for what I can do. Because if you remember like when people said Trump tells it like it is, and they even though he says grab him by the pussy, oh, well, he's a businessman and he'll run the country like his business. Yeah, well, I'm a working man. I've always had a job. So if you like Trump, why wouldn't you just hire me? You think I'm going to be at work spitting liberal stuff? Spitting like I'm a rapper. No, but I mean, like, you think I'm going to be at work, like, with a Resist hoodie on? Like, I've always had a job. I worked in a Catholic school. I can pass a background check. So if anybody's hiring, it'd be nice if you can hit up at JPorks on Twitter. Let me know. Let me know. There's no way that there's no jobs for a liberal. It's impossible. I've always worked. Again, I've always worked. I'm keeping to come back to that point. But, okay. Back at it on Sunday. JPorks podcast. Got a lot going on. Michael Cohen, Mueller, indictments, freaking conspiracy, even a little bit of treason. We're going to get to it. JPorks, Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio. Hey, yo! JPorks here. Recording my own commercials as per usual. But I am here to tell you about going to patreon.com/JPorks, and you have the opportunity to help support Least Coast Radio by becoming a Least Coast Radio head. How do you do that, you say? Well, there are 3 different tiers to choose from, where you can find yourself bonus content, bonus features from the JPorks podcast, from Dyze in your house, from all things Least Coast Radio. Now, what are those features? Well, they're bonus shows. They're getting shows early. They're getting exclusive artwork mailed to the address of your choosing monthly. You can interact with all the hosts here on Least Coast Radio. You can get shout-outs on the podcast, behind the scenes stuff. That's on Dyze in your house and the JPorks podcast. You get them both here on Least Coast Radio. Dyze in your house is usually the primer at the end of the week. The JPorks podcast is the long show. What we do at the beginning of the week to get you going, to take in everything that happened. But I need some help. And how you can help Least Coast Radio is by following us on Twitter at Least Coast Radio, going to patreon.com/JPorks, becoming a Patreon, becoming a Least Coast Radio head. And, if you don't want to do any of those things, you can smash that subscribe button on iTunes or YouTube. And, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to share the podcast with your friends. So keep it locked to Least Coast Radio for the least heard voices. We're here fighting fascism, saving democracy, but we're also going to have a little fun. Keep it locked.